All right. Let's do this. Thank you guys for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us. We're happy to be here.
Yeah, we're stoked to be here.
Yes. Well, the first question I think is a pretty obvious one. We'd like to know what the film is about.
Yeah, great. The film is called Okie. I wrote it. My name's Kevin Bigley, and you might know me from I don't know, other TV stuff, Upload and Sirens. I've been getting a lot during this press stuff,
Yeah.
which is like 10 years ago, but I'll take it. And this is the director and my wife, director of my life.
Hi. The director of all things.
Yeah, as our little green title says. But yeah, the film is about a guy played by Scott Michael Foster named Louie Mulgren. Louie comes home to his like rural hometown after his father dies to kind of pick up the pieces. And then he runs into some old friends. He's an author, and he kind of used these friends to kind of shape a lot of his characters and stories in his very pretentious novels. And he's kind of faced with the people he's kind of utilized and kind of profited off of. So
the stories he's stolen from people, and he has to basically face that and all the people from his hometown and their relationships.
Come to terms with that in some ways, in some kind of some mentally and some physically.
So the main character of Lucky Louie is he someone? Is there a certain someone you base that off of, or is he an amalgam to steal lines?
It is my worst case scenario for sure. Like I've written a lot of like short stories and stuff that have taken place in where I'm from, which is Northern California, which is very rural for those who have been up there, up north of Sacramento and everything. And I've recently have been working on this book, and it's a historical fiction, and kind of playing in that kind of sandbox, which is very familiar to me. It's easy to feel like you're an authority on where you come from, but I haven't lived there in a long time. So it starts to feel like, especially as you kind of utilize the place where you grew up, also stories that pop into my head. I sometimes I get scared that am I making them up, or am I like taking them from things that I've heard, and what kind of, what is ownership over something like that. So yeah, he's definitely my worst nightmare. I'm probably somewhere between Louie and Travis, who I play.
That's the one thing we talk about a lot in the movie, and about the movie thematically, is the question of what you owe to your hometown. And I think that's something that, like, I'm from outside Chicago. We're both from really blue collar families. And so in a lot of ways you think back to, as you kind of progress in your life, what do you owe to your family and friends and your bullies? And, that maybe made you strong, but maybe gave you a lot of issues. Like, what do you owe to these people and who really shaped you? So I think that in that way, we kind of are all representative of Louie in some way.
Yeah, it's funny enough, in a very meta way, I use a couple of my friends' names that I grew up with as characters. One of them being Kevin Miller, and the actual Kevin Miller, like, is like a physicist, and like is real, like he's really educated. And the Kevin Miller character that we have, played by Michael Waller, is like this little runty guy who's just kind of, like this guy no one ever,
like, shut up,
Kevin, get out of here. Like, I think it's so fun and hilarious, and he does a great job. But like, I can't wait for my friend Kevin to see this.
Didn't ask permission either.
No, I sent him a thing. I was like, "Is it okay if I make you out to be kind of like a little weasel?" And he was like, "Yeah, dude, go for it." Yeah, there's a lot of I do some Louie stuff in there for sure.
That's great. Yeah, all the characters are great. You guys did an awesome job yourselves. Speaking of some of these other actors, what was his name, by the way? Louie, what's his name?
Scott Michael Foster. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, he did it. He did an awesome job himself. My question is, did you guys know any of these any of the other cast members prior to shooting?
Yes, we know quite a few, if not all of them.
Okay.
We are, so basically, in order to get this movie made, we made a 20-minute long proof of concept short version of this movie a few years before we made the feature. And when we made that short version, we basically had the same cast. We cast Scott Michael Foster as Louie, who Kevin had met working on a previous job. And then the other characters, Steve, played by Dan J. Johnson, and also JJ the cop, played by Joseph Betta. Those are both people that we went to college with. So we knew, we'd all been working together for a really long time. We started in sketch in LA a decade and a half ago. And, so we basically called in every favor of every friend we have. Our cinematographer we've been working with forever, Wojciech Hilar. So, so it's a lot of Chicago people because that's where we met at DePaul in Chicago.
Yeah, I think a lot of like the writing process and creating process between us is we're really good at utilizing the resources that we have. And with the writing stuff, we kind of just looked at the locations that we knew because we were trying to shoot in my hometown up north, and we ended up in LA or in Illinois, but we ended up moving a lot of those locations over. But we were like, what locations can we utilize and get things for free, and that would look cool, like the dirt track and all this stuff, right? We also did that with actors. We were like, who do we know is going to be a gamer as well as you need on an indie movie, but also like who has a different vibe that we can kind of utilize. Joe Betta, who plays JJ, has this really great knack for being very pitiful. Like you really feel for him, like an eagerness of like wanting to like join the pack a little bit, but he's weirdly out of place. He was great. And then Michael Waller obviously is the Kevin Miller, which we got into. And Scott has this unique ability to be like awful and elitist as well as like really funny and endearing at the same time. So he kind of lends himself perfectly to this guy.
You can't just hate him.
Yeah, right.
Like,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Watching movie hated this guy.
Yeah.
So like sometimes you're like, jerk. Like I just want to sock him in the
He
face.
knows how punchable he can be, which is really great. And it's perfect for Louie,
Yeah. So what were some of the challenges you faced making this movie?
Well, let me get out the list. I mean, any indie film that you make is going to be an absolute, like we said over and over again when we were working on this movie, this is the hardest I've ever worked. This is the most tired I've ever been, but I am like the happiest I've ever been too. This was my first feature directing. I directed shorts and things, but this was the first feature. And so this was a huge leap as far as like budget wise also, and just the scope of the entire thing. We basically, from the moment we got greenlit, we had basically 2 weeks boots on the ground to do prep for this movie. That's location scouting, finishing casting, getting our department heads, everything.
And that's usually like for an indie, like at least a 4-week process.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as 6 weeks for your pre-production.
If you're lucky. Yeah. We had two.
Which is nuts.
Then
a lot of people didn't think it was going to happen.
Yeah.
Like when we were like, you could maybe go now, but it's probably not going to work. Like to jam the paperwork through the film office.
Yeah, that was
starting,
the whole thing. Lots of red tape around things.
It's hard enough. So we were like.
So then that, in addition to that, we only had 15 shooting days. So we were balls to the wall. Just shooting as hard as we could, as fast as we could. And we really had to squash a lot into 15 days. I mean, if you've seen the movie, it is lots of locations, lots of sweeping things, lots of different times of day, lots of, so there was a lot of planning that went into all of that. And so I'd say that everything about it was lovely and smooth and, once we started shooting, but I'd say the prep for it was really hard because we had such a truncated amount of time to do it in.
I've worked on lower budget stuff even for like TV. Like when I did, and I'm going to bring it up again, when I did Sirens.
Plugging a show that's been gone for really 10 years.
Coming off as a has-been. But we shot for 5 days would basically be one episode of television, and it would be about a little over $1 million. So we were shooting less than that, for less than $1 million for 15. I mean, it's just like, and you don't have that crew and all that stuff. So it's just you really have to be scrappy and tough.
Yeah, tough but not impossible.
Wow, Kate, I would imagine that's a bit terrifying, maybe.
A bit, yes.
Yikes.
I was panicked leading up into it. You know, there wasn't a lot of sleep, but there was a lot of terror because I think, and I've said this before, that like I think a lot of, especially female filmmakers, have this kind of like, they ask themselves a lot if they're worthy of doing the job, and if they are, you know, if they can lead a team that big, and you know, if they can rise to the occasion, because we don't have like a whole lot of people to look at and say like, oh, I could be like her. You know, there's not a whole lot of us. So it's, you know, that representation we're kind of missing in a lot of ways. So it can be really scary to put yourself out there and think that, you know, okay, well, I'm gonna let myself have this giant challenge and then try to rise to it. But you know, for me, and the advice I would give to anybody trying to make a film like this is to prepare like you've never prepared for anything in your life. Like I storyboarded and drew. I'm the worst artist you've ever seen in your life. I
Terrible.
draw hideous stick figures,
bad.
really bad artist.
Really bad.
And I sketched every single frame you see in the movie was sketched.
Okay.
So everything you saw, and since we had an incredible cinematographer, Wojciech, he was able to take everything that I came up with in here and make it so beautiful and make it work. But for me, like, I think because I had all of that preparation in my little Bible and all my stuff, that I felt like a little less terrified because I was able to fall back on that. So I could be a little bit more flexible in the moment because I had always something to fall back on. Yeah. So that for me, like a type A person, really made it a little less scary.
Yeah, we were never unprepared.
Yes.
That's what was nice.
But terrified constantly.
Yeah. When you're on unprepared sets and a director doesn't know what they're doing, it's very contagious, and people can all of a sudden, it's like being, you know, what I could only imagine being, you know, like if you're part of a like any kind of crew or anything, or like a ship.
Don't compare.
I was gonna say a pirate ship. No, God, I wasn't gonna say war.
You're gonna say a pirate ship?
Yeah, I was gonna say pirate ship. So it's because of mutiny. Mutiny is contagious.
So I'm a pirate captain.
So you're a pirate captain.
And
you're hooked,
I can't let
and all the mateys start to kind of
turn on you,
kind of whiff that you have no idea what you're doing.
Yeah.
Okay. But if you kind of start to sense and suss out that maybe the director's losing control, all of a sudden there's a ripple effect in the ranks, and they start to go like. And it's not that like to hoist them out. It's that, oh no, we all have to fend for ourselves to make this good. Yeah. We can't rely on that director. But yeah, you were able to.
So that's a pitfall for sure.
Yeah. But just to follow up on the directing part is having known some of the other cast members already, did that help a little bit?
Yes, I cannot overstate how much it helps to have a shorthand with your crew and your cast. I was able to say 2 words to my cinematographer and he would go, oh, right. And he would go do it because he knew exactly what I needed. I was able to look at him and say, I mean, we've been married for 15 years, you know, like so we know each other pretty well. So I direct him all the time. So it is like easy for me to be like, oh, so like this one thing, this one time, he'll go, got it.
There's
and
no
he goes
feel
and does
out
it.
process.
Yeah. And since I know all the actors so well, I know how to meet them at their level. So I know how to meet them at their level, at their language, and how I can best get across. Like there are some actors who, you know, you want to give them really specific scenarios in which to like, this will inspire them to get them where I need them to go. So I'm going to give them this little like play scenario. Then there's other actors who respond best if you give them a physical note. Like, I want you to do this entire monologue and not look at the other person one time. And that unlocks something in them and makes it, you know, so it really, you kind of have to know your actors and know these people. So that was super helpful that we had all worked together many times in the past. And yeah, we could really kind of like quickly, because like I said, 15 days. So you got to quickly get through stuff.
There you go.
So yeah, that was super helpful.
Yeah. Well, I think you did an amazing job, Kate. You guys all did. I really enjoyed this movie. Kevin, I have a question for you about writing. Was the rap scene the funnest scene to write?
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. And I sent it to all my friends too. I like kept sending it. It was so fun because it was just so stupid. And then also to think about, there's like a 9/11 reference because of course, if he was rapping like with his buddies at that time, they would have referenced that. So it was just like, it was so
I'd
fun.
also like to just bring up what that rap scene is based on.
Oh yes. So me and my friends, we used to do that. We used to write like all these fun, dumb stuff. And actually the beat from there is like that they did was used by us. So like, and I had to reach out to my friend who is like an actual producer and like makes actual, he like went on to make hip hop beats and stuff. And I just like, for the Bay Area, I reached out to him and I was like, can I have that thing? He was like, I don't even know where that is. I was like, please tell me you could find, and he found it. He gave it to me. And I was like, should I credit you? And he was like, God, no, please don't.
Keep me out of this.
The real insider info is that at one point, this rap group also contained a guitarist.
Oh, yeah.
And so the name of their...
No, that wasn't it. It was
more than one rap group?
No, we had several. It was called, it was a terrible name. It was,
please give it to us.
It was Cuddy Albatrosses.
Oh, not that one.
Yeah, that was with San Francisco. That's what it was. So that's that. So I had sent the rap to my friends too. I was like, "How do you feel about this?" And they loved it. Yeah.
I was talking about Beats and Strings.
Oh, that was another one.
We had a rap group in like high school called Beats and Strings, where you had one guy on guitar and the other guy was.
That was into college. We would get stoned. And, it was fantastic.
I was trying to save you by saying
no, don't save me. No, but this one specifically.
Oh man.
High school, it was fantastic. So to reach out to my high school buddies and be like, do you remember when we used to do this? Is it cool if I put that back on screen? So, it was fantastic.
The scene was great.
Oh, it's so good. I'm so glad. And then Scott was like, how should I do this? And I was like, I'm gonna record it for you. So then
Scott was good.
Where's that?
He was pretty good.
Scott has it. Scott was fantastic. Yeah. But I had to just kind of.
And he's never rapped before.
I had to lead him into the
wall.
Yeah, he was frightened, but he ended up killing it.
He was a little freaked out about it. Yeah.
That was a great scene. Speaking of scenes, one of my favorites is the opening scene. And I know he's just driving into town, but it reminds me of it took me almost 2 decades to go back to visit family in Mexico. And I remember as we were pulling up to the town and seeing different things, like for him, he sees, I think it's like a gas station and some old boats and all these different things, and the cross with the hat on it. But I feel like, at least I felt this way, like he was now feeling almost nostalgic again. Everything was coming back to him as he was driving into town. Was there a lot of talk when it came to the opening scene, or you kind of just went, this is what we're doing?
There was a lot of talk, actually.
Yeah, because the writing was different.
Yeah.
Because I wrote a thing in which he was coming in, and I wanted it to feel, because it does feel like that, right? When you go home, there is like almost a descent into memory, and for something to happen kind of gradual. And I also wanted to show that he was a writer. I wanted to show all this stuff, but it kind of felt more like telling. And it was like he was driving and he was having a Zoom call with his therapist and Bridget, with his fiance. And he was bouncing back and forth in between that and trying to listen to an NPR interview that he was on. So it's like his ego versus stuff. It was just too much stuff. And it was like, it worked okay when we saw it, but it was like so much. You realize like stuff from a writing perspective can read well, but then from a visual perspective, he's sitting in a car for like 5 minutes talking, and it's just not. It also, work.
I think, took away from exactly what you're saying, which is that the idea of this, and this is what like we get so excited about when people, like you were saying, say, "Oh, this made me think of like my experience going home for the first time," and like
very much so.
To see those things. This is the kind of like personal connection that we were hoping to get, from people, because this whole, we wanted this place to feel like anywhere USA, you know what I mean? Where it's like so many people can identify with, maybe that's kind of like their hometowns, or it's nothing like their hometowns, but the themes are like their hometowns. And so we just want people to identify and see themselves in these characters. And that scene specifically, I feel like what it's really about is that kind of, that suffocation you feel a little bit as you get deeper and deeper into town and closer to this monster that you've made in your head of like this emotional kind of place. And so we didn't need all of the other story
'Cause
stuff.
you
What we
just
needed
said
was
it.
that emotional.
You just said the
connection.
exact thing, right? So it's like we had all this like dialogue that I wrote, and we tried to time it out really, and we had this little gimmick, this little gag. It was like, oh, he's bouncing back and forth between, and then really we took it all out, and you just said exactly what we were trying to do. You know,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, we don't need it, and if
Yeah.
you can take it out, you're better served to just take it
This
out.
is why movies need a very vicious editor.
Mm-hmm.
And
we
this
had
is
a
why,
good one.
yeah, because you just need to, or at least your editing eye, because
Yeah.
you need to be able to look at something and be like, too much,
It's
shave it
funny,
down.
we had a very similar ending that was like that too, that in which he's kind of recording some of his stuff that as
Don't
he's
give away the
leaving, and well, I'm not, but like, but the entry and the exit are very crucial to this, and that didn't feel right either. It felt like there was just too much, and it's like we could do a little bit something a little bit less and a little bit different.
Yeah.
Same message is gonna get there, you know.
Yeah, I definitely felt that way. I love the view from up above, and then the view from behind the vehicle. And yeah, I definitely I remember going pulling up to the town, like I said, and going, that store's still there, and like, oh, I remember that, and I remember that. So I really felt that opening scene was great in my opinion.
Oh, I love that.
Thank you, I appreciate it. There was a thing that we had written in there that we got rid of with the interview stuff, which is his phone. As he really descends into town, the phone starts cutting out, and it's like there's not great service here, and it even still happens with him. Like, you know, it's just like you enter a time warp of some kind when you go home, and it's like he doesn't know how long he's been there. It's like the Twilight Zone, you know. It's like when you submerge yourself in that kind of nostalgia, you lose all touch with reality, you know. So those drone shots and stuff, it's really cool to kind of
see how small he is in this like puddle of his memory and his past, and you know, he's just this little speck driving in.
It's like watching something slip into the abyss.
Yeah.
You know, he's getting deeper and deeper.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I felt these characters were very relatable, even though I'm not from a small town like that. You know, I could still really relate, to what they were going through there. Were there any films that you tried to base the tone off of, or was this just its own thing?
We've done nothing but copy. Yeah, I mean, I would say our filmmaking heroes, Jeff Nichols, Sean Baker, really those two are like my main
big time.
You know, big time kind of. I emulate them all the time.
Yeah, have you seen Mud? That was a big one. Yeah, we love that.
Florida
film.
Project.
Florida Project.
You know, so for us, it's like that aesthetic is something that we're really interested in telling, those types of stories that are like on the grittier side and, you know, smaller town stories, but then have kind of thematically kind of reach further than that. So we love the kind of filmmaking style that is a little grittier, but still has its like kind of bucolic beauty to it. So something that's like, well, we always say when I'm explaining this, like when I'm explaining what I visually want for a movie like this, it's always like, I want a beautiful, like bucolic postcard that's rotting at the edges.
Yeah.
You know?
So and I love that it can feel funny too and trashy. Like it's like some of that stuff is, my favorite book is Suttree by Cormac McCarthy. And it's because it's, in my opinion, it can be pretty grueling, but it's also so, people find it that I found it so funny just because there's all these rednecks that just living like in a houseboat, and they all have these different schemes of like how they're going to make money, and they're really stupid, you know, these ideas, but it's like people just trying to, you know, get by and get their best, but sneakily and all that stuff. It's like, it's just so funny to me. You know, like Kevin's got this, oh man, wait till you see these, and they're firecrackers. No, they're fireworks. Like all this stuff is just so stupid and fun, you know, like it.
And we also identify with that world too.
Yeah.
So I think it's like, that's what's important about it, is that we're not really punching down.
No. Because
we know that world. And so we're not, we kind of get to have fun with it because it's like, you know, we're part of it.
Yeah. I mean, we went and shot down for the short, and you know, it's like we were having beers in the abandoned mall parking lot and stuff. You know, it's like it was the same. Yeah, so it wasn't like I think it's just, it's a fun thing to tap back into, and you know, and connect with. So I love that stuff.
Yeah, so many great scenes. I like Louie when he just wants to play heads up and they want to go to the track, you know?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Scott's so good at just
Yeah.
appearing that, like, he's just such a standout. Like, he does not belong here at all. Even from like, when you look at him, he's just clean cut compared to us. And then at the same time, yes, even just mentally, where he's just on a different.
He's also like lost
we
his,
would play a phone game.
he's lost his
Yeah.
accent. Like he does, you know,
Yeah,
like he's
it's
all
like
of a sudden he's this totally different guy.
different dude.
And he can't be, he's kind of afraid of the dirt track.
Yeah, like a sore thumb. Yeah,
Yeah.
people get knifed there. Like, he has such a
Yeah.
So
Yeah, he loves his eggs too.
He
was so excited.
He had so many eggs, and they were cold. It was
Yeah.
horrible. So sorry, Scott.
Yeah, and he does that transition. He does a transition.
I mean, crying while you're eating eggs is like really weird.
so funny.
Yeah.
And I love his irritation with the county fair.
Oh, that's
Keeps getting brought up
from a writing standpoint. Like, that's what I mean too. Like, when we talk about Suttree and talk about this idea, like the county fair was such a big deal. Like, when we were growing up, it was always like, you can go to the fair, you can go to the fair. And the fact that everyone keeps bringing it up, and you feel like the movie, like as a film, this can't just be leading to a county fair, right? Like, it can't be, and it is.
Yet.
It's all leading to a county fair, which is like such a rewarding thing as like you know, an Okie writer to like to be leading to end at the fair and get to the fair as per.
Kind of ironic, yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, so many fun scenes, but there's one you got to clear up for me a little bit, if you don't mind.
Mm-hmm.
Kate, there's a scene, I won't give too much away, but there is a scene where, unless you guys want to mention it a little more about it, but you're offered a little bit of help. That didn't seem so bad. Am I wrong?
Listen, depends on what your perspective is. I mean, I'm
Okay.
I know stuff at the cats. Yeah, I think that you know, if you look at it in the context of physically what it is, like, she's a single mom, you know, getting some help that is in the form of cash is not a terrible thing. But I think Lainey, while being prideful in some ways, is also you know, she's survived this long on her own. So I don't think she's afraid of not being able to survive. I think the thing she's terrified of is being alone. And I think that when it comes down to it, she wanted more than money. She wanted companionship, and she wanted support and understanding and to be seen and all of that. And it made her feel cheap to just be handed cash as if like, this is what I owe you, right? So now I'm giving you what I owe you. And to her, she was kind of like, I just kind of wanted understanding, and I wanted connection, and you know, those are the things she's missing. She's like, listen, I can pay my bills, okay? Like, I can pay my bills. I'll figure it out. Yeah. It's not easy, but I'm gonna figure it out. But when, you know, usually when you have somebody who's that strong on one side, there is something else that they crave, and that for her is you know, kind of like companionship and love and trust and understanding. I think really it's understanding at its core.
I feel like too, it's like the cheaper version of this is like that everyone's kind of experience is when you meet someone that is kind of famous or something, and you're talking to them or something, and you're just like, oh, you're a little nervous or whatever, and you're like, but you're connecting maybe, and you're like, I could just have this connection and talk, or just even if it's fleeting or whatever. And then part of me wants to get a picture. But if I do, I'm going to immediately put this person, they're like, oh, yeah, okay.
That's why you were talking.
Right, got it. You know, it's like, and by him giving that money, it's like, oh, you're just like everybody else. How I view everyone here is everyone just needs this.
You're all just after this.
Yeah, you're just after this.
You
and
know?
this, and also like Louie's perception of like why he left too. It's like money and fame, success, that's going to solve everything. That's what you need.
Wouldn't you be happy with what I had? That's what I gave up everything for.
You need this. That'll fix everything. It's fixed everything for me. This is what you...
It's just a moment of like pure miscommunication, like emotional miscommunication of two people who Louie isn't trying to offend her or be a dick, but he kind of is being one, like not paying attention and not being sensitive to the moment, you know, and he's a person who kind of worships money in his own way. So yeah, so it's a classic miscommunication, but I think the thing that's fun about it is that we can be like, when we're watching it, we're like, is that so bad? Like, would I take it? Would I be offended? Would I, like, you know, so it's kind of fun to think about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So is the festival the first time audiences are going to see this?
Yeah.
It's happening in a few days.
No pressure.
We just got here. We're really excited. We went down and kind of registered and everything. And
we just stood outside the theater today and just stared up at it. Like,
yeah,
you know, because this thing has been 2 years in the making. I mean, we've been working on it for so long, and it's been a real joy and a pleasure and a privilege, but also has been an immense amount of work and an immense amount of like, you know, being an indie filmmaker is really, really hard. And not to complain about it, but you really it's an uphill battle all the time, because until you are somebody who people really believe in and people think are valuable, you can't get through any doors at all. So it can be really hard to keep that morale up and to keep going. So moments like this are so nice because we're just so excited to like let the film do what it was supposed to do, which is to be watched.
So
that'll be all that we need.
It's very challenging when, you know, the thing we're very proud of this film, but it doesn't exist until people see it. Yeah. Right? Like it exists to us. But it doesn't exist.
Like all of our friends,
else.
Like who haven't seen it ever, even some of the actors haven't seen it.
Yeah.
So to all of those people, I mean, we could just be like lying.
Well, it's like Schrodinger's cat. It's like, but like the film is in the box right now, and it could be good or it could be bad, and it is both because no one's seen it. So now that like you guys have watched it and other people are starting to watch it, sending it to, you know, reviewers and all that in the press has been really scary, but really cool and interesting because the feedback that we're getting has been very positive. But
we also just love talking to people like who are finally seeing it and like have a reaction to it, even for the parts that they don't like that's less important to me. It's more kind of people who are going like, this bugged me, or oh, this I identified
it's
with.
Real now, you know? And like even sending it to you know, like to you guys and Jason, what you're saying about like, you know, you don't come from this environment or whatever, you know, but you know these people without knowing them specifically. That's really cool for us to hear, because it's like you don't want to create something that's so insular, you know, where it's like, well, it's only if you come from it. But to hear how wide it's hitting the mark that's really nice.
So that's gonna be fun this whole weekend.
Hopefully we have more of those experiences and opinions.
Unless we get booed out of the theater. I don't know.
We'll see. Out with pitchforks.
We'll see.
Well, we'll be sending positive vibes your way because we really enjoyed it for sure.
Thanks,
thank you guys.
Yeah. I have a question for you. Oh my God, I just thought of something. Kevin, isn't it strange watching your wife kiss Lucky Louie? Is that not a strange thing?
Scott just has a weird asexual vibe to me. Why I wrote him in there. I didn't know. Scott's very sexy. It was totally fine because Kate had a monitor like on her lap the whole time. So
there's nothing less sexy on this earth than making out with somebody on camera. Like it's really, we were sweating so badly that we were both drowning, and then like because the doors were closed, it was summer, and I had a monitor in my lap, so every time we were done, I was like, "Well, we're back. I need to," you know. So like,
Kate would just like drop composure right after, like cut, like okay, play back, and it was just like so. Yeah,
we've also been doing this acting and doing this stuff for so long that there's just if any of you have seen Upload, he's like nude in the entire show. So really, you just go like,
nudity.
What are you gonna do?
Get over it.
That's awesome. That's great. You guys are great, man. You guys are fun as hell.
Are there any other projects you guys want to talk about, or?
We got a film. Yeah, we got a film that's in kind of development right now and in attachment phase. We're trying to, kind of get the people we want for the thing. So that we wrote together this time. Yeah. So which was really cool. So we have that, and that's kind of where a lot of our focus is going. That's not going here, as well as some potential TV stuff. But yeah,
we're excited to kind of like after this is done, this is like consumed our lives, so we're excited to like it's time to move on. We wrote another feature, and then I have a separate feature outside of that I'm working on. So there's things, but it'll be nice to be able to focus.
Yeah, it'll be good
outside of
once this isn't also on the agenda. So
yeah, and then also Kevin, you're on a show, right, on Fox?
Yeah, we got Animal Control. I'm actually flying out on Monday, I think, to like go back to work. So from here to Vancouver. So we're shooting second season of that. We're coming to an end here in maybe in about a month, and then take a brief break, and then right back in it for season 3, and then still waiting on upload. Our third season aired October, finished in November, so we'll see what happens with that too.
Great. And actually, the question I wanted to ask you before I thought about the other one, I saw a picture of you with a life-size bobblehead. I mean, this thing actually towered over you. It was like 2 feet taller than you. It was the Big Hurt.
Yeah.
Are you a big baseball guy? Do you?
Yeah, big time. My buddy Juan and I, we go to spring training every year.
Oh, nice. Okay, that's starting up here.
Yeah, we're big Dodger fans. So like we go every year. She allows me to go. I saw it immediately.
Yes, sir.
Want to go this year? My buddy just had surgery. Juan just had surgery, so I don't know if we'll make it. But I would love.
He's gonna make it.
I would love to go.
What? Well, then I'll go.
Tani and all that stuff. I just want to see the whole. I'm so psyched for this season. So
didn't you sing the?
Oh, I got that was for Chicago. For the Cubs, I got to take me out to the ball game for the Sirens crew, which was like that was one of the coolest baseball moments ever. And the Dodgers were playing, the Dodgers were ahead. It was 2015 or 2014, and they were like, trying to make the playoffs, and they obviously did that year. And I had to do like a let's get some runs, which I didn't want the Cubs to get any runs.
But you were their guest.
And they came back and they beat the Dodgers, which was like bittersweet. But that was the coolest thing in the world that was for a baseball fan to do that.
That is awesome. Is that on the internet somewhere?
I don't think so. But they gave me a hat. It was like seventh inning. I immediately, it was me and the other guys, and we ran down and immediately just chugged in old style.
That's Chicago, baby.
Oh man, that's awesome. You got anything else, Jason?
No, I just am very thankful that you guys came on, and I can't wait to see what happens with your film.
Thanks guys. We appreciate it. We'll keep you in the loop with distribution. Maybe we'll do this again once it's getting closer to real world premiere stuff when it's coming out.
Yeah,
that would be awesome.
That'd be great. Thank you guys. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys for having us.
Thanks guys.
Have a good night.
All right, good night, you guys.
Bye.
See you later.